I'm a petty person. I hold grudges for a really long time. I'm still convinced that the only reason I actually became like a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber at all is because when I was starting out and it was a hobby, I sent somebody a message and then they replied that they didn't want to host my stream, which was a completely reasonable response at the time, but I got so upset by that that I decided to hold that grudge and use it to motivate me for a very long time. But I will never be as petty as the fans that we are going to talk about today, because the institutional memory, particularly the institutional memory of cultures in Europe, is beyond insane. What we are talking about today is something that happened 1,000 years before the United States was founded in 1776, which we all know was the start of history. Obviously, there was no history before 1776, but just in case there was, this is something that happened 1,000 years before that was somehow brought up at a football match, like at an actual match between two teams that you definitely at least were kind of paying attention to, but you might not have known this. The clubs in question are Real Sociedad and Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, if you don't know that their name is Paris Saint-Germain. Now, PSG won in the Champions League round of 16, 4-1. Real Sociedad's a team in La Liga in Spain. They're not normally in the Champions League, but they are from a particular region in Spain, a region called the Basque region, which you may have heard about before, particularly if you watch football or soccer, right? You've heard of a club from the Basque region called Athletic Bilbao. Now, that club, of course, only uses players from the Basque region. Real Sociedad does not do that, but the Basque region is a region in northern Spain that is very separate culturally from most of the rest of Spain and identifies as its own thing. Even though it's part of Spain, even the fact that Real Sociedad can sign players from outside of the Basque region, the club itself is still very strongly identified with the Basque region, which is here. Oh, I need to pull it up. Hold on. There. That's the Basque country. North, east, mountains, pretty far away. Different language going on, which is also something that helps separate cultures from other cultures, right? But mostly a part of Spain. There's a bit of the Basque region that's also in France, but the Real Sociedad is in this area. It's actually in San Sebastian, which is right there. And they busted out, in my opinion, one of the best tifos of all time. And I want to talk about the most petty thing that I've ever seen up to this point. And I often consider that the fact that the Scottish anthem, because obviously Scotland is a part of the UK, so technically the anthem of the United Kingdom is God Save the King, I guess, at this point. But the anthem that Scotland uses for national team games, for things like rugby and for football, they use The Flower of Scotland, which is a song about a victory over the English in the 1300s. The point of the song is we can't fight them again. We must be brothers now, but we need another great generation or so. I can't remember all the lyrics. It's not like a screw you England song through and through, but it is a song about sending King Edward home again after beating him in the 1300s. This is 600 years before that and now takes the cake as the most historically impressive petty move I've ever seen, because I didn't even know this. I'm a history major. I love history. I'm obsessed with history, which is kind of why I have to sit here and talk about this, because there's no way I could just let this sit idly by. I did not know that this happened. And yet somehow the institutional memory in the Basque country is so strong that they did. So first of all, we have a tremendous atmosphere at this Basque match, right? Real Sociedad's got banging flags, right? It's the second leg of the Champions League round of 16. This is not a stage that Real Sociedad is normally able to make, although they are one of the better run clubs in La Liga for sure. And then they cut to the tifo. Right there. There's a tifo. We've got Basque warriors on either side, a woman and a man, and other Basque warriors kind of in like a mountain pass here. And then we've got PSG's logo and what you assume is like a Frenchman down here. This is a reference to an actual battle. Again, a battle I'd never heard of as somebody that absolutely loves history. The battle's fought in 778, and it's called the Battle of Roncesvalles Pass. And it is a battle in which Basque tribesmen defeated a Frankish army that was riding down into the Iberian Peninsula, or was actually at that point leaving the Iberian Peninsula after getting involved in the various wars with the Moors, which were the Muslim conquerors of Iberia for a time down there. And they were riding out back through the Basque country, and they like burned a couple of villages and towns and took down the walls of a city called Pamplona. And the Basque got all mad about that, and they ambushed the Frankish army of freaking Charlemagne in the pass. And now, just as Charlemagne would have feared, there is a tifo making fun of that defeat, where the entire rear guard of Charlemagne's army was destroyed, and his entire baggage train was looted by people that then disappeared into the mountains the next day. That is now being made fun of in a tifo. And I got to make sure that I got this math right. Like 1,230 years ago. The battle that Real Sociedad's fans in this tifo are making fun of PSG and all of France for happened like 600 years before Christopher Columbus. Nearly 700 years before Christopher Columbus discovered the New World. This battle is so old, the Roman Empire ended 300 years before this battle happened. And I wanted to do a little more investigating because I was impressed at their amount of recall. So I took what they actually wrote on this thing, Viscones insumimontes vertis sorgentes, and put it into Google Translate. The language detected is Latin, and it means the baskets rising on the top of the highest mountain, which I have no idea what that means, but it does sound sick and intimidating. Unfortunately, like I said, it didn't really help. We already saw the score. PSG won the match 2-1. They won the tie 4-1, and Real Sociedad was out. But the winner for the pettiest fan base of all time in the best way possible is the Real Sociedad fan base dragging out the Battle of Arancevo Pass from 778 to try and get in the heads of PSG. And you know what? Even though PSG won this battle, they lost the first one. Probably like legitimately the first real encounter between people from northern France and people in the Basque country on a military battlefield. Like, that wouldn't be an unreasonable assumption to make. The leaders are unknown. It's speculated it was Lupo II of Gascony, but personally, I think it was my boy Bernardo del Carpio that was dropping in. We know Charlemagne was leading it, but it was Roland, actually, who got killed in the battle. He was apparently one of the knights of Charlemagne, and he was slain, as they were apparently killed to a man in the rear guard. So those boys from the Basque country, they knew how to get the job done. Maybe they should get a couple of those guys in the team and they wouldn't have lost 4-1 to PSG. But hey, when PSG's leaving and they're walking through that mountain pass to try and get back up to Paris, you know, once their plane is unable to take off because of fog, just keep your eyes on the cliffs. There might be a couple of Real Sociedad archers up there. Yo! Yeah, look, anytime you're walking through a mountain pass in the Basque region, watch out for the rear guard. That's all I'm saying.